Hi farm friends, I am so glad that you stopped in to the farm kitchen today because I am getting ready to make some rendered lard. This lard I pulled out of the freezer earlier. It's actually from our pigs that we processed last year, and it's now time to process the pigs from this year. I need room in the freezer, and it's perfect timing because I just ran out of our last shelf-stable jar of lard that I made, and we're gonna make some more because lard is far superior to olive oil and vegetable oil. I do use both. However, lard is definitely better for you and it's super easy to make. So if you are raising pigs this year and you have the opportunity to keep the lard when you have your pigs butchered, please do. It's really good for frying, for cooking, and I use it when I make soap on occasion as well. So save it because you're going to see how easy it is to render and have something really useful and healthy for your family. All right, if you're watching this video, I am going to take a shot in the dark and say that you already know that fat is good for you. Fat is not bad for you. Fat is good for you. And when it is healthy fat from an animal that has been raised in a healthy way, even better. So, like I said, if you have opportunity to get lard from your own pigs or tallow from your own cow, or someone that you know is butchering their own pigs and they're not going to use the fat and they offer it to you, go ahead and take it. You won't be disappointed. So let's get to it. All you need to start rendering is your lard, a knife, and a crock pot. You absolutely can do this in a pot on your stove, on your conventional stove. I've done it on our wood cook stove before. However, thankfully it's 70 degrees in November here in Maine, and we don't have the wood cook stove going right now. So today we're using the crock pot, and why I like the crock pot is you can actually get it going and just turn it on low and forget about it for quite a while. So you can get some other things done at the same time. So let's get cooking. Well, we're not really cooking, but we're gonna get cutting. Like I said, this is lard that we packaged from our own pigs last year. This lard, there's two types of lard. So there's something called leaf lard, L-E-A-F, leaf lard, and it is what is around and near the kidneys in the pig. Then you have just general lard that are, other places. It's really hard to see in the packages. I use both. Leaf lard is easier to cut. It's a softer, whiter, more delicate lard. And then the general lard is a little more difficult to cut, and it's not generally as white. I use them both. Some people have a preference. My preference is to use everything that you can use. This one is leaf lard, and you can kind of tell it's very white, and it's just like soft looking. I don't know if you can tell or not, but we're gonna get this cut up into small-ish pieces. It's not rocket science, you're just cutting them into small-ish pieces. And then you're putting them in the crock pot on low. As you can see, there's no rhyme or reason to the cut. Just you want smaller pieces so it melts more quickly. People can grind this. You can grind it if that's your preference, and it will melt down even more quickly. I'm not that worried about it. I've never done it that way, but I know it is a way, and many people prefer it. So if you have a grinder and you want to try it, go ahead. Get your lard and there's little pieces of meat. I don't even know if you can see that, but if there's little pieces of meat on there, don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt anything. If you are offended by that for some reason, just take it out. You don't have to use it, obviously. All right, my crock pot is about halfway full, a little bit more. I have this other little tiny package that I think I'm going to chop up and put in with it, but I'm not going to fill it all the way up. I think for me personally, with experience, I found that the least, I don't want to say the least amount, but you just don't want to overfill it. So just do, halfway, 3/4 of a way, because you're still going to need to be able to fit a ladle in there as it melts to ladle out the rendered lard. And if it's too full, as it melts, it may overflow, or when you put the ladle in, it overflows. So just be mindful that you don't want to fill it too much. And I also believe, in my experience, that it renders more quickly the less that you have in there. So just take that into consideration. This is a great example. This whole thing is a piece of pork. So there's absolutely no reason to put it in there. If it was attached to a piece of fat and it was smaller than that, I wouldn't worry about it, but there's no reason to put that in there. So I'm just gonna keep that out. Right, that's all there is to it. I have the lard in my crock pot. I'm going to put the lid on, leave it on low, and just check it periodically to see if enough of it has melted that I can scoop some out into a jar. The rest of this lard I'm going to pop in the refrigerator, and when this batch is done, I'll make another batch. All right, so periodically you just want to come and check to see how your lard's doing. As it cooks down, it's going to just cook down. That's all there is to it. Just give it a little stir to make sure that everything is melting and warming up. It is melting, but there's not enough melted yet to actually pour it into my jars. So I'm going to just let it keep doing its thing. Okay, now that I have the lid back on this, I am just going to wipe the top of this jar and get any little bit of oil off the top. I'm going to put the lid on. And tighten down the ring. Now, it's nighttime. I'm going to bed. This is off. This is capped. And in the morning, we will see a beautiful white, shelf-stable, usable lard. Good morning. Here we are, as promised, in the farm kitchen with our lard. Overnight, you can see it turned into a beautiful, creamy white. And by putting it into the jar hot, putting the lid on the mason jar and then the ring, it should be perfectly sealed and shelf stable. Let's do a test. No, that's funny. It did not seal. I must have had just enough lard on the top that it did not seal, or the lard itself was not hot enough. So I will go ahead and get this jar super hot, and I will probably even water bath or process it. That's funny. Good blooper. Guys, this has been like a 3 or 4 day project, rendering lard, which is one of the reasons why I actually enjoy doing it. You don't have to do it all at once. If it's in a crock pot, you can literally take 4 days, 5 days, a week, and it's all going to be good. If you run out of time, you have to go somewhere, whatever, just unplug your crock pot, let it cool down. You could put it in the refrigerator if you wanted to, or just leave it setting out. It's fine. But I think we're on day 4. And after the blooper, I just have to do another jar to prove to you that indeed you can have this seal and have it be shelf stable. I've done this all kinds of times, many times, and the lard actually stays shelf stable. I've had lard on the shelf sealed for at least 6 months, and before I used it, and it's wonderful. It's perfect. If you're concerned at all about putting lard that is just sealed from the heat of the lard, and you don't want to use it as just a shelf stable item, you can actually freeze mason jars. Many people don't know that. You can freeze mason jars. My recommendation would be, however, that when you fill the mason jar, you go fill it to only below the first rib here, because as things freeze, of course, they are going to expand and you don't want to break the jar. My other suggestion is only freeze the wide mouth jars. Do not freeze the small mouth jars, because there's kind of a hip on the glass, and as things expand, it will break. Ask me how I know. Anyhow, let's give this a shot. I think I have enough in here to fill this jar, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do to make sure that it seals. Okay, nice, clear. There's no, bits or pieces floating around in that. It does look a little yellow, but that's good, clear lard right there. I am now going to put this in my oven. I have chicken cooking in it. The oven is set at 350. I'm going to pop this in the oven for 5 minutes. The jar is hot from the oil, but by popping it in the oven, it will get everything, the oil, the lard, and the jar very hot. I'll take it out, then I'll cap it. Very hot. Okay, I know that I didn't spill any of the lard on the top, so I'm not going to touch it. This is a clean lid. We're going to just put it right on top. Put the ring on. Get it down nice and tight. And we're going to let that cool overnight. Maybe I'll test it a little bit later on this evening or tomorrow morning. But if we hear it ping, is what it's called, when that lid gets sucked down, we'll know that it is sealed properly. But I'll still test it for you. But maybe we'll get lucky and we'll be able to hear this lid ping. But anyhow, honestly, that's all there is to making lard. And whether you decide to freeze this, put it in your refrigerator, leave it as shelf stable, however you choose to do it, you do your own research and do what makes you the most comfortable. I just want to show you how easy it is to make lard. And like I said, it is so good for you and far superior to olive oil, vegetable oil, any of the nut oils, especially if you raised your own pig and know exactly what that pig was fed and how it was raised, how it was butchered. It's a good thing. All right, farm friends, as promised, I wanted to show you that you really can heat this jar up in the oven, pop the lid on, pop the ring on, and the lid will seal. It's on there tight. It's on there tight. They're all on there tight. I did the same process by putting it in the oven. So these jars of lard will simply be labeled with the word lard. I do personally just the date, the month and the year. They're gonna go on my pantry shelf. I'm gonna consider them stable, and I will just go through them while I'm using lard in roasting, broiling, grilling, sauteing, frying, anything like that. I will use that instead of vegetable oil or olive oil, and it's good and nutritious for us. I'm not sure if this will pick up on camera or not. However, I wanted to show you the differences between the three jars. This first jar is the jar that I took the lard off first. The oil, as it was melting, it was nice and clean. The second one, the one in the middle, is a little bit darker because as you get to the bottom of the lard as it cooks, you're going to get more brown bits in it. It's going to be, I don't want to say burnt, but you've been cooking it longer. It's not as clean. It's still very clean and very healthy for you. The third jar, you may be able to see, especially on the bottom, right? It's a little brown. Again, still super, super healthy for you, really good for you, and perfectly usable. I'm going to list on here some of my favorite reasons why using lard is good for you, and I hope that you take advantage of it. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it, and we sure do appreciate you being here with us at Haven Acres in the Farm Kitchen. Have a great day.